2023 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 out here at Sonoma Raceway. It's actually a very interesting car because people are split on this. Some say that it is phenomenal, the perfect sports car, especially for track, and others say actually because of some key limitations, it's actually severely compromised and somewhat overrated. I think that's largely due to the McPherson strut suspension, both front and rear, and also the very long gearing. By the end of the video, I'll tell you what I think. In terms of mods, we have Tarett camber plates, both front and rear, with -3 in the front and -2.5 degrees of camber in the rear, 0 toe front, and 4 millimeters of toe in on the rear. Swift springs front and rear, that's 80 kilograms front, 100 kilograms rear, compared to 35 and 80 front to rear. DSC controller with the mapping for these stiffer springs. Apex VS5 RS wheels, we have 19x9 in front and 19x10.5 in the rear, with RE71 RS rubber. That's a 245 section width in the front and a 285 section width in the rear. Usually owners actually go with a wider section width, but since Wings, the owner, is newer to track days, he wants to be a little bit more under tire to keep that limit a bit lower. And one special surprise for you guys, at the end of the video, we're gonna have a 4-way comparison between me, Fenton from the Zygreen channel, Alex, and the owner, Wings, driving this exact same car on the exact same track on the exact same day, and we're going to compare the driving styles and the relative strengths and weaknesses of each driver, so stay tuned for that. And we're out here with Lightspeed. Use code JABAL for $25 off your next Lightspeed track event. First impressions, getting on track with the 718 Cayman GT4 at 5, 6, or 7 tenths. We're just doing the outlap right now, just warming it up, right? It feels so incredibly good because you still get those modern Porsche inputs, the incredibly precise, direct, and quite good feedback for E-Pass steering. You get this manual transmission that is a joy to use. I should rather say that it is very easy to use, especially when you're pushing the car hard on track. I'm not gonna say it's as slick and satisfying to use as something like a Honda S2000 or even my ND3 Miata. It has longer throws, a bit more tilt, but you're not going to be miss-shifting, which is a very common issue in the S2000 as an example. And the brake pedals, even with these stock pads, it feels excellent, just upgraded brake fluid, super solid, super confidence-inspiring. We do have auto rev match as an option on this car, but if you look down at the light, I have it disabled because 2 reasons. Number one, I think that there's a pursuit of mastery in driving stick, and you should be able to do it on the track and rev match your own downshifts. But I'm also just more comfortable doing that foot motion because if I try downshifting without rev matching, it feels really uncomfortable and I have to think about it. So it's like the muscle memory, because I just always rev match and heel toe my downshifts, street and track, it's actually uncomfortable for me not to. And for those who have a keen eye, that is actually Zygreen, aka Zypoppy's Integra Type S right in front of us, but it's currently being driven by Johnny, the owner of Lightspeed. And in front of that is a G87 M2 that is currently being driven by Fenton, aka Zypoppy. You can check out his channel for the review on that vehicle, and we will also be reviewing that as well on this channel, so subscribe if you haven't already. Just figured you guys would appreciate seeing all 3 of us all together right here. The G87, not inspiring confidence, a bit undertired. You can see Johnny going for the overtake, both of us. That ITS doesn't have a big wing like the Civic Type R. Approaching turn 10, seeing that tail rotate a bit under braking. Johnny giving us the point by. We're getting on the brakes very early. Also, I should be apexing this turn 11 a little bit later. It's going to be a common theme. But man, even though this isn't a proper GT3 engine, this still feels so incredible, revving this engine out all the way to 8K, especially after driving my stock engine ND3 Miata all day. With the repaving, it's a bit bumpy here. You can hear the traction cut in. I actually have ESC off, but traction control enabled. So think of it as like halfway, you know, we don't have all the nannies on, we have them partially disabled. I don't like going fully off when I'm driving other people's cars on track, but I also don't like things fully on because then they can sometimes be a little bit too intrusive. I want you to pay attention here. Turn 6, I'm not lifting off throttle, right? I'm still accelerating. That's important. You'll see why shortly. And as we're cresting, getting on the brakes, a little bit of action, especially at the rear end, because, you know, with the strut suspension, you do get some toe change in and out. And as much as I love the Porsche Cayman, when you're driving, let's say, 8/10 and below, when you start getting, you know, as I'm doing these laps, I'm getting more comfortable. I'm pushing the car harder and harder. I'm getting now closer to 8.5/10 and then eventually 9/10. You start seeing the limitations of that strut suspension. Now, with the toe links and with all the mods that the owner has done, it's not as bad as stock. So stock is actually substantially worse, but even with these mods, you do notice this little bit of instability. You know, you don't have a consistent contact patch. You're gonna get more toe change in and out. See right here, turn 10, I completely blow the apex, completely blow my line, because as I got on the brakes, the whole car was still heaving around and the rear end wasn't quite settled. And that's something that you can get used to. These cars can be incredibly fast around Sonoma. So it's like one of those cars that's easy to learn, hard to master, because they are very approachable. That's a 148.3. As you can see, you gotta be quick with your hands when you start pushing the car harder. We got a 981 GT4 in front of us that we're gonna slowly reel in. Now, as you see here, I short shift into third simply because this car does not have the carbon bucket seats. So you don't have the seats holding you in place as you upshift. So I want to shift before I get to the higher G's of turn 6. Now catching up to the 981 GT4 and the C6. Turn 11. Want to get past them, but I'm not sure if the Cayman sees me. So the Corvette passes, but I wait, there we go, for the blue 981. But then, oh my god, black flag, and I think I see my number there. And the funny thing is, I thought that black flag was for me. I'm not sure what I would have done or what the issue would have been. Looks like it was for the number 39 car, not 38. I forgot the car number. So, silly mistake. As we get back out on track, we see what looks to be a C8 Corvette quickly approaching in the rear view. But because we're going to practice good track etiquette, we're going to give a point by right now before the S's, the high-speed section. Don't want to hold him back. And it's not just a C8, but it's also a Z06, much faster than this 718 GT4. But let's see, can we keep up? Now, as I'm beginning to push the car a bit harder, now around 9/10, I'm starting to feel more of that limitation, right? So here, approaching turn 10, I get on the brakes. Ooh, it heaves sideways. Reduces a lot of confidence there, and I completely botched the line, have to turn in too soon, because when you're, the issue with this strut suspension in the rear, also here I'm apexing way too early, not carrying enough speed, especially with a higher horsepower car compared to my Miata. I want to apex that a lot later. But with this strut suspension in the rear, you get dynamic toe change, which is just a fundamental limitation, and that's what gives you this really nervous and unstable feeling at the rear end when you start pushing the car harder. Even with these toe links, right? It's a lot worse without the toe links. But even with these mods that the owner has done, the added camber, etc., still McPherson strut front and rear is a notable limitation as you start pushing the car a bit harder. You don't have an optimal tire patch as you get compression and then that toe change in the rear as well. Now we have a DC2 Integra on the left. Corvette's gonna blow by. But here, see, I lift off completely and lose speed because I want to be safe and make sure that that DC2 is not going to, you know, as we approach the entry of Carousel, turn, you know, move towards the right side of the track and get more on the racing line. So lost at least 2/10, maybe 3/10 there, just from that complete lift versus gaining speed. Still have the C8 Z06 in sight, getting on the brakes super conservatively here. even though Porsche brakes give you a lot of confidence, I'm just newer to this car, newer to this track as well. Bit of a bump there, must have clipped the berm. This is actually only my 3rd time ever out here at Sonoma, just keep that in mind. But if you guys do have tips, would love to hear them down in the comments below. The C8 Z06, also about 500 pounds heavier, makes it less willing to change direction in the S's. With all that power, it just walks away. Again, approaching turn 10. Still not quite hitting it the way I want. Need to give it a few more goes, especially as I'm carrying more speed now. And again, not happy with my line here. Should have apexed that later. And now it really just walks away with all that additional power. We're gonna cross the line with our PB of the day, a 148.13. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the 4-way comparison, same car, same track, same day, just 4 different drivers. However, keep in mind, this is not a fair lap time comparison. A few key things to keep in mind. Number 1, Alex here had a passenger in the front seat. He also ran into a little bit of traffic later on in the lap. Fenton from the Zygreen channel had a lot of traffic later on, and he was on a faster lap with a predicted 147, but because of traffic, this one here ends up being his fastest lap time. And then for myself, I also run into a little bit of traffic, and this is also only my 3rd time at Sonoma. In terms of car settings, Fenton and I have halfway traction on. Alex keeps full traction on. I'm not sure about wings, and I'm the only one who has disabled rev match. The other 3 drivers do have auto rev match enabled, which you can also see from the throttle tracing during braking. All right, the moment you've been waiting for. I'm at the top right. Wings, the owner, is top left. Fenton from Zygreen is bottom left, and our good friend Alex is bottom right. Now, we didn't actually know this was going to be a comparison, so me and Fenton drove the car first, and then Alex later showed us up. I think me and Fenton would have pushed a bit harder if we knew this was going to be a comparison, but you're going to still notice some themes here. So Alex is braking later than both me and Fenton, and is therefore carrying a little bit more speed prior to getting on the brakes, and that adds up over the course of the lap. He's also getting closer to the limit more consistently, and you can see that with more micro corrections. He is sometimes doing a bit of overcorrecting, but he's closer to the limit more consistently than me and Fenton. Now, me and Fenton have pretty similar driving styles. Here at turn 6, again, I lift off, lose a couple tenths, and based on the telemetry, me and Fenton have very similar braking points, similar brake pressure. Alex tends to brake later and harder than both of us. I figured actually going through the telemetry data would be a little bit too dense and a bit too nerdy, and you guys wouldn't enjoy that. But if you would like to see that in a future video, then leave a comment below, and we'll decide on that. Now, Alex is running into some traffic right now as well, which is not going to be optimal for him. Getting here to the S's, based on telemetry data, my line and my approach through these S's is actually the fastest out of all 4 drivers, but I'm still notably behind Alex in the bottom right. Now onto turn 10. Alex actually slows down more than me, but he brakes later. And where I lose the most time to Alex is actually turn 11 here. I get on the brakes way earlier than him, and also my line, I apex it too early. And that actually loses most of the time to Alex, but even still, and with a passenger, Alex is gonna beat us out and crosses the line with a 147.86. I'm at a 148.13, and Fenton is at a 149.